speaking from an economic standpoint, which is far less important than the spiritual implications. But it's a tale of two methodologies. Under Trump, we had a reduction in the corporate tax rate, which had the largest impact on investment in structures like businesses spending on buildings, equipment, things like that, which ramp up their ability to expand their businesses, which expand the economy, which gives more people jobs. That's the ideology there. And we saw a lot of investment. We saw a lot of onshoring of businesses that had chosen to operate in other countries where it was more economically feasible to do so. Now, simply put, under the Trump administration, when you give corporations tax cuts, a cut in those taxes gives corporations the ability to deploy capital and the decision-making power on how to deploy that capital in the most efficient and profitable way. Corporations are held accountable, something that the government does not experience. They have no accountability in the government. But corporations are held accountable, especially publicly traded ones, every quarter as they report earnings. They have to report what they did with the resources that they had and the way that they spent money and all of these things. And if they do it efficiently and profitably, their stock price goes up and they get to stay in business. If they don't do it efficiently and profitably, the numbers will show it right away. Their stock prices will decline and eventually they will go out of business. You don't see corporations draft a budget and tell their managers that only 20% of the funds allocated to that project actually have to be spent on the project. You see strict accountability with corporations. But that's what Congress did with this money that they allocated to the public schools. They said that only 20% of it really had to be spent on the whole reason for the money being doled out in the first place. On the flip side of this, the tale of two ideologies, President Biden has a modern supply side economic view, and it's all about artificially propping up capital expenditures, partnering with private market businesses to give them either low interest loans or free money to relocate to America, not because America has the best business environment, which should be a free market, but because they get billions of taxpayer dollars to do so. People, companies, so on and so forth, are always more fiscally responsible with quote unquote their own money. Now, we know it's not our own money. We know that God owns everything. But just think about the example. Have you ever met a spoiled rich kid, that's spending their rich parents' money? The kid isn't really rich, their parent is. And, you see really frivolous things happen. And that's exactly what's happening with our government. The government thinks that they are fit to make fiscal decisions when, as Dan always used to say, they can't even manage their own lunch money.